All
Cool.
right. Hey, how we doing?
Okay, we're cool. All right, I figure we'll just take it organic here. Because I don't know too much about you, Johnny. Obviously, like made the contact with you, but welcome to the show. Get after it. We're three entrepreneurs just trying to learn more what other entrepreneurs are doing and how they're growing their business, and fallacies that they're facing, and how we can learn from them as a unit. So obviously, we wanted to bring you on because you're doing that right now, and you're teaching a lot of people and learning yourself. So. Cassidy, if you don't mind, if you just give us your background, what you've done, what you're doing, and where you're going, if you don't mind.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you. My name's Kassidy Warren. I came from basically the corporate world. I was an engineer for a long time. Moved up the ranks. Thought that I wanted to be like a VP or corporate exec, and realized after 10 years that that was not for me. The pay wasn't there. The benefits, the lifestyle that I wanted wasn't there. I value time freedom and uh, being able to go create what I want to create. And so about 5, 6 years ago, my wife and I quit our jobs, lived in our van for, it was supposed to be a year, ended up being 6 months. I can tell you a little bit about that. But from there, we decided to invest heavily and went all in on investing in real estate, short term rentals, Airbnbs. I focus heavily on design and amenities, creating experiences that evoke emotions for people when they stay with us. That's something that I really highly value. And I love the design aspect, love architecture, love real estate. And then got to a point where what we were doing was just another burnout phase. So that's a pattern of mine in the past is burning out and just going all in. And so the last 18 months have shifted over to buying boutique hotels, as well as avoiding getting burned out more and more. And I've been helping teach people how to buy real estate, how to buy hotels. I think I'm at like a $13 million portfolio now, and that all was acquired essentially within the last 5 to 6 years. Um, and so right now, also transitioning away from short-term rentals and selling off a lot of our properties based on this framework that I've come up with called the velocity of money, which kind of helps you figure out the best strategy for how to multiply your money quickly through real estate and whether or not you should actually sell your properties or not. So, yeah.
So, okay, so what were you doing in the corporate world, and like, did that help you leading into your investment, like starting into that, like your knowledge base?
Yeah, I mean, engineer, electrical engineer,
Okay,
and so already kind of good with numbers. But the stuff that I was doing did help with investing for on the construction side. So I was uh, I worked in the field a lot, building and constructing things. I wasn't doing the building, but worked a
sure.
lot with crews and builders, managed like huge budgets and building massive infrastructure projects. And so that did help translate over to when we're doing major renovations. I didn't know about drywall or electrical or like, even though I was electrical engineer, like I didn't know anything about like 120 stuff. So like none of that translated, but like being a good project manager and understanding budgets. And then what really unlocked was as we got further into our investing journey, understanding the benefits of real estate through leverage and appreciation and the tax benefits.
Hmm.
Like when you start adding and layering that stuff in, when all you knew before was stocks and 401ks and a 7% return and those were the tax benefits from deferring your 401k um, money. Like once you really start understanding the benefits of real estate and the numbers behind it, that's like what really kind of lit everything up and took off for
Sure.
me.
So what? Okay, so were numbers? What did you do? Airbnb, was that like 2019, 2020, 2021? Is it like at that time frame? So like things were kind of
Yes.
cruising. In? Okay,
The
so
boom. Yeah, the boom.
yeah, so obviously I seem to ride that high. Was that what burnt you out though? Was like just turning things over? Were you managing them yourselves? Were they in your area? Were they from in another state, or what was that like?
Yeah, great question. So at that time, I was doing some consulting work too. My wife was doing some consulting. So we were doing those jobs. The majority of the properties that we bought are in Arizona. We live up in Washington State. And our model is essentially the BRRRR to short-term rental model,
Mhm.
where we do heavy renovations and heavy design. So we're trying to be the best. And we even did like bathroom renovations. We added pools, hot tubs, like in-ground pools and hot tubs. So we spent a decent amount of money at each property. We spent a decent amount of time and energy designing these properties to be amazing and get the most value out of them. And so that model was really what burned us out, because what I learned later, that even if you can make a good amount of money on Airbnb, it still really isn't enough to be able to outsource and hire the right talent and the top talent. And if you remember during that time too, during COVID, it was really hard to find contractors. It was really hard to find really good people.
Yeah.
Like we did a good job of hiring team members, and like we've still got a lot of those people today, but it was a free for all back then. And so that really just burns you out. It shows you the chaos of what running a business like that means versus where I came from in corporate and wanting a little bit more stability, even as an entrepreneur. But I was like, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a more standard way.
Yeah, gotta be
So
middle
that's
ground.
kind of what. Yeah, so that's kind of where the boutique hotels, commercial real estate comes into play. But just to finish off on your question, the first thing we did was we hired bookkeeper and accountant. Like everybody should do that. Like number one, don't be in your books. Like learn it, but learn it by asking questions of your bookkeeper and asking questions of your accountant. Don't become an accountant.
100%.
Yeah, and then we the next thing that we hired out very quickly was the guest communication, because we realized just how disruptive that was to our normal lives. And although we love the hospitality side and we love creating, we love creating experiences for guests, but it's just if they don't read anything and it's 11 o'clock at night and they're showing up and they can't figure out the door lock, like you don't want to be woken up for that. So
Yeah.
that was a very easy move to go hire people to help manage that piece for us. And so we took the approach of like layering in people to offload all of the work and the time and the energy versus like going out and paying 20 to 25% for a property manager. So we did that for a really long time. And then just recently we've kind of gone full time with a traditional property manager. That's
So what were you, the person that was doing the communication, how much were you paying? Was it a percentage base, or you on like have for salary before you moved to a full-time property manager?
It was a day rate. We did a day rate and we had an agreement. And so I went around and I told people about this, because the percentage model is great when they're doing revenue management, because that incentivizes them to do better on the revenue side, right? If they make us more money, they make more money. But when I was still doing that, and it was really important at that time for me to do that, which maybe that's a limiting belief, but I was like, well, we just need people to do these specific tasks, and we have templates and we can train them, we can meet with them. It's really just a day rate, because I couldn't do hourly because it's all day, but
random.
it's like it could be one message a day, right? So we just, they weren't VAs. Well, what you think of VAs today, technically they were VAs, but they were in the States, and they were just located in different parts of the country. But that also became an issue because they had other jobs or they had other things. And so we had to kind of cycle through some people to find the right fit. And then that was also why it was like, okay, well, we just need to go property manager route, because we just can't be hiring and finding and training. Like we needed somebody that was going to take care of all that for us.
It's a good idea though, to try to, because it's so, especially now with occupancy rates being so slim for people that are still carrying these things, it's like those property managers eat every bit of your revenue. So it's like it's a good idea to try to find someone like you guys had, intermediary there. Cool.
Yeah, I think there's going to be 4 types of Airbnbs that survive, because I agree. Like a lot of people are falling off just because they can't keep up. But I think there's going to be 4 types of Airbnbs that survive. The first type is going to be your big mansion with all the amenities, kitted out. Maybe it's in the middle of nowhere, or maybe it's just on a big plot of land near town. Sleeps 20, 25. Maybe it's multiple buildings. Like that's like the family reunion spot.
Yeah.
Hotels can't really compete with that. So that I think will always exist. Number 2 is going to be the unique stays, like the potato and geodomes and like stuff that hotels just can't build or won't build, or they can't scale.
Tree houses.
The tree houses, that stuff's always going to survive on Airbnb. The third is going to be your hotel alternate. And these might be cheaper, these might be more expensive, but for people like my wife and I, or maybe it's 2 couples traveling, that want a little bit more space. Maybe they got a pool, maybe they got a hot tub. You get a little bit more privacy. Maybe you have a kitchen. So I think those will still survive, but those don't make as much money, or they're going to be in specific locations. So that's going to be a smaller segment. And then the fourth Airbnb that will survive is what I call the core product, which is your traditional 3-2, 4-2, 4-3 house. But it's got to be designed so well. It's got to be ran so well. It's got to have the pool, the hot tub. It's got to have all the amenities that you want, maybe the movie theater. But that's going to be the core product, but it's got to be the best of the best of the best. And that's the only, like, if there's 100 of the 3-2 core product, there's going to be 5 that survive. You know what I mean? Like, because they just have to be operated so well.
Yeah,
in the future.
absolutely. So how is that segueing into like what you're doing now, your knowledge base of how customers perceive their stays? And then obviously you're just taking on a bigger scale at this point. There's a lot more to manage, it seems like, I would think, from a hotel perspective, but you tell me, how's that handling it?
The great thing about buying hotels is it's a team sport. So you shouldn't go into buying a hotel on your own. You want to partner with people, but you want to partner with people that have complementing skill sets as you, right? And so for the hotel that we bought back in April, we brought in an operator, someone who has a lot of hotel experience. And we're fortunate that we were able to do that because of the group that we're in, the mastermind that we're in. But you don't want to take down a hotel on your own because it's just going to be way too much for you to do. There's marketing, there's maintenance, there's property management, there's asset management, there's revenue management. You're running a business, you're running a whole business, and it takes more than one person to run an entire business. And so operations is one of the key pieces that you need to understand. The nice thing about hotels is that there are a lot of great property managers out there that don't charge 20 to 25%. They charge a lot less than that to operate and run the hotel, and they typically do everything. But what I've found is to get a really good property manager, they're going to want 6 figures to run a hotel. And so that means that you need to buy a hotel where your revenue is going to be able to support that from a percentage basis. So you need a revenue. What I look for, you need at least 1.5 million in revenue after you do all your renovations and everything. And then you're going to be able to afford a really good property manager. If you're going smaller, like if you're looking at 6-unit, 12-unit roadside motels, roadside hotels, you're still kind of buying yourself a job unless you can charge a ton of money per night. Like it's in some crazy location and you've outfitted it with the right amenities and it looks really cool and all that. But if you're buying something that doesn't make a ton of revenue, you're not going to be able to afford a really good property manager, and you're buying yourself another job. Versus buying something actually that's a little bit bigger, makes more money. Yeah, you might be bringing in partners, but you want to share the workload because you're not good at everything. Other people are, and it feels really good to have someone that's really good at marketing or really good at operations own that and take that, and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
Whereas coming from the Airbnb world where you're all of it.
Right.
And now you've got other people that are experts, and there's enough money to go around to make it worth it for everybody. And then as soon as you get your foot in the door, you get one deal under your feet, you learn a lot. And then as you cycle through your first deal, that just sets you up for the next one. It's easier to get lending. It's easier to find partners. It's easier to get and raise money. Everything becomes a little bit easier after you get your first deal underneath you, even if it's one of the smaller ones.
Right.
So if there's people out there listening that are like, oh, I don't want to go small, I need to go big. Yes, but if you get a really good opportunity to partner on a smaller deal, and it means that you're going to get your foot in the door and you're going to be able to do something, and then the next one's going to be easier, then go do that. Absolutely go do that. Just know you're going to probably have to do a little bit more work on the smaller deals or you're going to have to pay a property manager more money for it to be worth it to run the property.
How are you finding these deals? Like where are you sourcing these things?
Great question. It's really funny because we're in this mastermind group with probably like 70 other people that are buying hotels, and everyone's like, hey, have you seen this one? Have you seen this one? And we're all looking at the same deals. Like, oh yeah, I talked to that. Like there was one in the chat the other day. The daughter of the owner went around on Instagram and independently sent each one of us the same deal, said, hey, are you interested in this? And we all kind of were like, oh yeah, she messaged me too. Yeah, which is really cool. But basically, there's Crexy and there's LoopNet. Those are the Zillow and Redfin of the hotel world.
You are going straight off MLS, basically, not the MLS. I'm a residential broker, so that's speak my language a little bit. And we have a commercial division with our brokerage. But interesting. Okay, so straight up the Crexy and LoopNet.
Well, but that's where they go to die, really.
Sure.
Because all the brokers have investors that they go to first.
Yep.
And so if they send it to all 40 of the investors that they know and they all say no and pass on it, well, then it makes it to the market, the open market. But if all the investors passed on it, then
there's a reason.
There's a reason, yeah. And typically it's price, or for us, it's like if there's a heavy operational restaurant, like a lot of people don't want food and beverage in the hotel. It's just it's a nightmare, small margins, it depends on the property. So what we have to do is we have to contact brokers every day, every week. We have to follow up. We have to tell them what we're looking for. They send us stuff that we don't like, and we have to email them and say, hey, thank you, but this is why it doesn't meet my buy box. And it's creating relationships and staying top of mind with these brokers. And just like on the residential side, there's a lot of brokers that aren't worth their weight in salt, right? And then there's a lot of brokers that are really good. And so you still have to deal with every type of personality and hope that you just hit the right timing. And the first hotel that I bought, the one in Solvang, California, the other partners that I'm with, they spent about 6 months calling brokers every day. I think they called about 700 brokers total. And they were looking all over, right? We were looking all over. But it took about 6 months. And this is when the market was like stalled. If you remember back in like 2023, I think it was, when it was just like nothing was moving whatsoever. But it took calling, following up. And then the timing worked out that when they contacted this one broker, it had just fallen out of contract and they were about to put it back on the market, but they were able to contact the broker. And so it really is about persistency. I don't think that's a word. Consistency and persistence.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Kassidy, can you, we've talked a few times and I met you through the mastermind, and it's been great so far. One thing that I really like that you talk about is the velocity of money. And I feel like most of our listeners are probably going to be in like their 20s and 30s, and they either work like a W-2 job or they're trying to get out of it. Can you, because how you described it really, I was really attracted to that idea. So can you kind of go in depth with that and just like talk about summarize like the 401k? Because I always thought it was smart to invest. I mean, it is smart to invest in your 401k, but talk about like the benefits if you were to do like the velocity
to do
of
real
money.
estate. Yeah. So the velocity of money, it's an official economic term, but I just basically describe it as how quickly you can multiply your money through real estate. And the reason through real estate is because with the velocity of money, there's 4 accelerators. There's 5. I'll talk about the 5th one, but there's 4 accelerators. And the first one is leverage. Leverage is debt. So you can buy 100% of an asset with a percentage of the overall purchase price. So you can't do that with a 401k. You can't do that with stocks. You can't do that with traditional investments. And I'll talk more about all that stuff. But the first benefit of real estate and the velocity of money is leverage. You can buy an entire asset with leverage, with debt, and you own the whole thing. The second accelerator is appreciation, and more specifically, forced appreciation. So in residential real estate, you can force appreciation by doing improvements, renovations, which is what we were doing on the Airbnbs. In commercial real estate, you do the same thing, but actually it's worth more, and it's based off of the amount of money that you generate for the property. So the value of the property is based on the income that you generate from the asset. So if I can, and I'm going to use rough numbers here, but if I can add another $50,000 to the bottom line, $50,000 in profits, that makes the property worth another $500,000. In residential real estate, that doesn't exist. That doesn't happen.
Right.
And when you combine leverage with forced appreciation, now that means so much more because you get the forced appreciation on the total value of the asset, but you only put a percentage down. So if I had a graph, it would be much easier to see. But just know that because of leverage and forced appreciation, that's like a rocket ship of increasing the value of your dollar. And then the third accelerator is equity or free equity from raising money. So if you can get good at raising money, or if you can raise any money and you don't have to put any of your own money into a deal, or you put a lot less of your money into the deal, you're getting like, that's wealth building,
Right.
because you're getting equity into a deal without having to put any money in. That's free equity.
Yep.
So that's another piece. And then that plays onto the forced appreciation and the leverage as well, because the more equity you have for the least amount of investment of dollars, that just means you're going to grow your money that much faster. And then the fourth accelerator, which this one, a lot of people have been lied to or misunderstand the tax benefits side of things. So the fourth accelerator is tax benefits, specifically cost segregation and depreciation and bonus depreciation. People think that their 401k gives them tax benefits because it's tax deferred out of their paycheck. And they're like, oh yeah, and then I'll just take it out later. But when you withdraw on your 401k, you pay taxes. And so then people are like, oh, well, I'll just be in a lower income tax bracket because I'm making less, because I'm withdrawing, or my expenses are less. One, you don't know that. And two, do you want to live a life where you just want to like withdraw 30 grand a year just because you don't want to pay taxes? Like that's not the life I want to be living. And so we're kind of lied to with the 401k about the tax benefits, where you think you're saving money, but you're just deferring it and you're going to pay it later anyways. And so in commercial real estate, you get to basically, because you bought a building that you're renting out, you get to have a ton of write-offs in the first 1 to 5 years. And that's called cost segregation and depreciation. I'm not going to try to explain it in too much detail, but just know nothing else exists like it on the planet. There is nothing else that exists on the planet like depreciation. And it is the ultimate tax benefit because you spend 20% of the cost of an asset and you get to write off the entire thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. And then the fifth accelerator is social media and content and just getting your name out there. And the more people that know about you, the more people that you can raise money from, invest in your deals. And that just, again, doesn't happen with stocks, 401k. And the other reason that I call it the velocity of money strategy, because the last piece of it is like when to sell, or buy and hold versus selling, or buy and hold versus refinancing. There's the BRRRR strategy, right? Refinance and then hold and cash flow. But what I like to look at is like, okay, what if I actually sold instead of refinancing? So my tax benefits last for 5 years. The majority of my tax benefits last for 5 years because of the cost segregation. At year 5, if I sold, what could I turn that money into? And so I ran out of tax benefits. I could refinance, but I'm only getting a portion of my equity. I'm not getting all of it. If I sold and I bought something even bigger, whether it's through a 1031 exchange or not. And for example, I'll give you an example. We're selling our Cleveland house. We're going to net 200K from that house. It's worth about 475. We're going to be able, if we went and just bought a house, we could buy $1 million house with that 200K as a down payment. Obviously, we're going to have to put some more cash into it for whatever. But so now with that Cleveland house, we've used all the tax benefits. We've gotten a ton of cash flow, 200K in equity after selling, which then we can go buy $1 million house that we should be cash flowing on. We restart the tax benefits, and now we're appreciating on $1 million versus $475,000. So that's the combination of the velocity of money, of leverage, of equity, of forced appreciation, of tax benefits. So it's this anti-buy and hold strategy.
Which I like. Nice. Winning over fast money, find something bigger. But I'm definitely a proponent of that. Okay, so I like this. I feel like we have some tangibles for people. So a couple things that I'd like to see. You obviously said buy with a partner. How are you finding your partner? So it's all in the mastermind, or do you have trusted friends that you or live around that you're doing this with, or what?
The majority are from the mastermind, yes, which I encourage everybody to go find their community,
Mm-hmm.
and go find people that are really doing it. Go find people that are actually doing it. And so that's what actually sold me on the mastermind, is that I was watching, this is Rich Summers' hotel investing mastermind. I was standing on the sidelines, and then I saw Rich close, I think, on his third hotel in like 18 months. And I was like, okay, I don't see anyone else doing this, and I don't know anyone else. Maybe there's other people out there. I don't know them. So I need to go talk to Rich. And so that's how I got in the mastermind. That's how I talked to Rich. And then I felt like such an outsider, a noob. Like, I didn't know what to do, but I wanted to learn as much. So I connected with everybody in the group as much as I could. I learned as much as I could. I'm the numbers guy. So I kind of became that in the group too. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I also recommend to people, like, go add value in your communities as much as possible. Get known for something positive in whatever community. Or if you're just connecting one-on-one, offer value, offer free value. If you're new and you don't have any experience, you need to be able to offer free value. And it's not like, hey, let me know what I can do to help you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that. It's like, try to be more specific with what you're asking or what you're offering, because people get DMs all the time. They get requests all the time. Like, and if you don't have anything to offer, like, at least ask really good questions. Get better at asking really good questions and then following up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you have to ask good questions, you have to offer free value, and then you have to follow up as much as possible. Even if it's like, hey, I took your advice, da 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 da. That's another thing. If you're talking to a mentor, or if you're talking to someone that's really experienced and they give you advice, go fucking try that advice on. Like, go try it and go do it. Like,
Yeah.
and then go follow up with them and tell them. That's how you build credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does that. I will tell you, nobody does that. People ask for advice all the time. They want to know, they get it, and they don't do anything with it.
Right.
But if you get advice and you go do something with it and you follow up with that person, boom. That's how you find people and create your network. That's how you create your
Absolutely.
reality. Yeah.
And I feel like the when you're asking somebody for advice, like, it could be anything, like a fitness person in the gym, like, hey man, how do you get that six pack? He's like, oh, I eat this, I do this, I do this, and then 6 months later, you're like, I did what you told me, and then you lift your shirt up and you got a six pack. He's like, see, that's like the biggest compliment that you could give that person, because
Exactly.
yeah,
And they're going to want
Yeah.
to do.
And then,
It's a good tangent. Oh, go ahead, buddy.
no, go for it. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, for people that are listening again, I think, like Johnny said, that a lot of these people that are going to listen are 20s and 30s, or maybe have never even started real estate investing at all, even from a very simple standpoint. But the from my side with sales, like, I have a sales background, so does Johnny. But like, it's the thing that you keep touching on is your persistence and touch points and contacts, and like, you will find out who's valuable to you, and you got to reciprocate that value back to them too. So it's when you're contacting brokers, actually being a closer, because then they're going to contact you at that point. But even with brokers, like you said, a lot of them suck. To be real, there's way too low of a barrier to entry into our profession. So you do have to do the legwork to get people to call you back on deals, because they're going to forget about your phone number. The property's going to fall out of contract, and they're not going to be able to find your contact information. So being persistent is basically the moral of the story. There's one of the tangibles to take. Whatever route you're taking, whatever I guess schedule of follow up you're going to do, be persistent with it, and make sure it's something you can test as well, and make sure it's actually working for you. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I like to say that real estate is not a money business. It's actually a people business,
Absolutely.
right? We think it's assets. We think it's money. It's people, it's persistence, it's who you know. And this is true for a lot of industries, but
mm-hmm.
especially people that are good with numbers, like engineers or others, they want to sit behind the spreadsheet, and they want to sit behind Zillow, and they want to sit behind their computer and imagine and daydream and think about what it would be like. When really the secret sauce is, there is no secret sauce. It's literally go talk to people and go ask really good questions, go put in offers. And if you're too afraid to put in an offer, go find someone that's not too afraid
Let
and
them do it
figure
for you.
out, well, yeah, or something like like, this is not magic. It's so funny. Like, it's not magic. It's literally just going and doing the legwork and learning and getting better and improving your skills and asking questions, but like finding the people that are willing to support you. And I didn't mention it, but I had to pay to get into this mastermind. But guess what? I just accelerated my learning. There's no way I would own a hotel, be under contract on one more, and be almost under contract on another in less than a year. That's 3 hotels under contract, one sold or one purchased in under a year. There's absolutely no way. So yes, I had to pay to get in, and it 100% accelerated my learning.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's good. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just gotta hop on. You just gotta, get in and learn from those that are getting it done. Um, Cassidy, I know you mentioned you and your spouse. You guys, how do you get your spouse on board with like everything that you're doing? Like, are you guys? Do you have to convince her, or does she convince you? Like, how does that? What's that situation like?
Yeah, that's a good question. My wife, Erin, we've gone through kind of multiple evolutions of our relationship, and we talk a lot about how grateful we are for each other that we're both willing to go and do this stuff.
Hmm.
And in the past, what it's looked like, and we still do this, is we meet on a regular basis and we talk about our goals and our dreams. And we also use language that is really supportive or clear on how we feel or don't feel about something, because we don't want to show fake support. We don't want to have misgivings. We don't want to have, feelings of resentment or potential resentment for someone going and doing something, or us not
Hmm.
being on board, or us, like, we're really open with our communication. We're really open about how we feel. We're really open about what we want to do, and we support each other. And so we meet regularly. The other thing that's really important that we've recently gone through is like separate but together, meaning we both have like completely focused on ourselves and our own um, mental health, physical health, happiness, joy, like creating our own individual identities, but rather than us being a couple as an identity. Because I think you see it a lot in the real estate space where it's like the couple is the identity in real
Yeah.
estate.
Hmm.
And we were that way. But we've now been like so convicted in becoming who we are separately, but then together. And there's a lot of overlap in what we do. But it's hard because it actually comes down to like what your habits are and the type of person that you are and how you treat yourself, so that your spouse and your partner can support you in that way. If there's unmet needs, if there's unmet things in the relationship, it's going to be really hard for your partner to get on board. If they have insecurities about themselves and they see you trying to go achieve, that's going to be really difficult. If they look at you and they see someone that's going to rocket ship to the moon, buy a bunch of hotels, and they're going to feel left behind, or they don't feel like they could achieve what they want, that's going to be a difficult situation because there's going to be some animosity, some
Right.
resentment, some things there. So I don't know if I have great actual advice other than just like communicate and be honest with each other and like continuously work on yourself. Um,
No, I think that's
and
great. So I think a lot of
Yeah,
people
it's
just, like neglect that part of it because they see the stars and the moon they're trying to land on, and then they kind of just avoid or neglect what's obviously really important too. That's going to be your support system. So I think that's good advice as
yeah.
well. So how are you?
Hmm.
If you have a strategy at this point, I feel like this is an ever evolving thing, but like because I've definitely been the same way with the burnout aspect, and I don't know if Johnny if you felt the same way, but like especially like our personalities that we get so excited over things and then like dive into it, get really knowledgeable about it, and it's like holy crap, like I'm overwhelmed at this point. So how are you like with current structure? Like are you trying to figure out a way to build a team underneath you, or like structure this to where you don't feel that same fatigue and burnout moving forward?
yeah, for sure. So that was a huge realization. The first thing I did is like I focused 100% on myself and the things that I needed. A lot of that was like rest, like literally, and went to therapy. And I'm still going to therapy. I love my therapist, and she basically for like 6 months straight was like, "You need to not do anything at all. Like she
Yeah,
had to keep like telling me over and over and over, like, you need to stop doing anything. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. It took me a long time to get what she was saying, but it was a lot of rest. And then it was rediscovering the things that brought me joy and happiness, and creating a structure around those things and a structure around my energy. And if I can give anyone any advice at all, it would be to, one, get back in the gym and do something physical every day, whether it's lifting weights or whatever you're doing, whether it's a HIIT class or yoga, like, but actually I think lifting weights and physical fitness 3 to 5 days a week, and then complementing that with some other outdoor activities, and trying to do that for 30, 60, 90 days, that will 100% turn you around. It'll give you clarity in your mind and help alleviate a lot of the rumination and the anxiety that exists in your mind of like the constant chatter.
yeah,
So there's that. Feeding your mind with books, reading, that's been a huge thing. And so that gives me constant clarity and ideas and focus when I'm reading every single day. And so I built up these habits to focus 100% on myself and my energy. And then the next level is I hired an executive assistant and offloaded basically everything that I don't like doing. I am not in my calendar anymore. I am not in my email. I don't coordinate any appointments. I don't like, I take a screenshot and I send it to my EA. She handles it. And I'm really fortunate that she can do a lot of other stuff too. And so then next will be, okay, I'm buying hotels. I want to buy and build resort hotels. That's going to be putting the next team together. And then podcast, I'm starting a podcast, almost there. And so like, how do we make sure that we systematize that and set that up so that I'm just showing up and I'm able to record?
yeah. That is probably huge for you, having someone to kind of be coordinator of all your schedule. Because if you're going to be doing all these things and attacking at all angles, like you will. I mean, that's compounding. That's all. That's going to make your business grow exponentially. But you can't handle all those things at the same time too. You just got to be able to show up and do what you're good at, talk, and educate people, that kind of stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah, people focus too much on paying other people and being like, oh, I can't afford them or da-da. Well, if you can't afford them, one, either you're too stingy, too scarce, you don't have the right mindset, or
Right.
you haven't built a big enough business. And so, or you need to find another way to like bring someone in. But once you bring someone in like an EA and all you're doing is the things that light you up and the things that generate income for your business or whatever that is, even if you're parents or have a regular job, like I talked about this on my social media this week and it like kind of blew up. We have someone that comes in and meal preps for us. So they come in for like 3 hours a week and they prep all of our meals in containers exactly how we want them. And while that's going on, I was like underwriting a hotel. I was posting stuff on social media for content. I was relaxing. Like I was getting things done and I was getting myself re-energized while that was going on. And then the rest of the week, I just throw the stuff in the microwave or whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's not as expensive as you think it is. And so like, do you want to be spending time with your kids? Do you want to be spending time with your friends? Do you want to be spending time with your spouse? Do you want to be cooking and cleaning and managing appointments and like, so everyone really needs to look at what their calendar is full of. And so this is another piece of advice on like how I'm managing my life from burnout moving forward is you need to just subtract, get rid of like, I don't care about your fucking commitments. I don't care about like what the neighbors want to do. I don't care about what the parents at school think. I don't care about what others think. You need to only care about yourself. You need to only think about yourself and you need to subtract everything out of your life that doesn't align with the things that bring you joy and light you up and get you to your goals.
Sure. I love it, man. Johnny, you got any
So
questions, dude? Yeah, go for it.
yeah, what's for 2025? What do you got on the agenda for 2025, Cassidy? Goals, fitness goals, real estate goals, family goals. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So the theme of 2025 for me is reach and reputation. So I'm going to be hitting the content and podcast and getting out there more, hosting events, speaking on stages. Like, so that's going to be a huge part of what I'm doing is doing more podcasts like this, hosting my own, traveling around. and like getting my name out there and making sure that people know who I am and trying to spread this word that I've been talking about already on this podcast and teach about real estate. Fitness goals. Yeah, I'm currently on like a macro based nutrition program with lifting weights. I'm actually going down. I'm trying to go down right now, but then I'm going to turn around and try to like gain 5 to 7 pounds of muscle a year over the next 3 to 5 years. I want to get big and strong, and I've never done that, and so I'm really excited about being able to transform my body in that way. The real estate goals. I want to own in the next 5 years. I want to own $500 million of real estate. That's my goal. I want to have that be focused around experiential stuff, like hyper wellness at hotels, landscape resorts, stuff in nature, really high end design. I want to work with the best people, the best designers. I want to work with creative people, and I want to help people connect with themselves in nature through amazing resorts, amazing experiences.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, so 2025, my goal is to like break ground on the first one of that in my portfolio. So the first kind of landscape resort, be able to break ground if we can.
Very cool. Dang, man. I don't have anything else. Cassidy, anything else you want to touch on? Last words that you want to give to our listeners or pieces of advice?
Yeah, I think the thing is that I like to say is that you are in charge of your own life. You can create your own reality. You do not have to succumb to other people's ways of being. I want you to write down your goals. I want you to write things down that you want, and I want you to say it out loud, and I want you to tell your friends. I want you to tell your family. I want you to be brave enough to go out there and like actually put it out there. You can create your own reality, and it's possible, and it'll happen a lot sooner than you think. And yeah, follow me on Instagram. I'm at Kassidy.Warren. Kassidy's with a K. So
cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Contact with you off Instagram.
Yep, off Instagram. I'm still doing some of my free coaching calls too. So if you want 20 minutes with me, talk about real estate, talk about mindset, whatever you want, you can book some time with me.
That's awesome. Okay.
What's the for those that like to read, what's the best book? What's a good book you recommend? Like one life book, one real estate book, if you had to put you on the spot.
Yeah, 10x is easier than 2x. That is all about, it's actually easier to go bigger than smaller.
Yeah.
And then of course the real estate book, if you haven't read it, Rich Dad Poor Dad, where you're not going to learn about how to actually go buy something, but that's for me and a lot of other people. That was the book that was like, oh, I get it now. I get why real estate is the thing. I get why the mentality, asset versus liability, and the scarcity mindset versus trying to go create additional income. So 10x is easier than 2x, and then Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. That's good. Those are some good recommendations.
Okay, cool, guys. We'll wrap this up now. Kassidy Warren, again, thank you for joining us, guys. Make sure if he's doing those free coaching calls and you're listening to this, I see no reason why you should not be taking advantage of that. So we'll put phone number in show notes, I guess, or whatever you want them to do. Reach out via Instagram. You guys can set that up. But we're going to log out on this one. Thanks again, Kassidy Warren. Appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kassidy. Take care.